On a more serious note now, the ongoing Black Lives Matter protests sparked by the killing of George Floyd by police have once again brought issues of racism into focus all around the world. And Israel, with a growing population of Ethiopian Jews and African asylum seekers, the issue draws sharp parallels. But addressing prejudice starts in the home, and it requires a deep look within ourselves. So, joining us to help shine a light is Israeli psychologist Dr. Kamila Forkosh Lavan. Kamila, you've actually studied this subject in depth. What are the psychological mechanisms behind racism?
So our mind tries to put everything neatly in boxes because it makes it easier to make decisions and to navigate the world. How we use those boxes and what are the constructs that we separate or create have a lot of it's influenced by our society and by our culture where we grew up.
All right, so how do we use maybe these stereotypes as a defense mechanism? Because that's what it sounds like you're saying.
Right. So if you think about it from an evolutionary perspective, knowing the difference between your group and someone else's group might have meant literally not being eaten, yes? But now, of course, that's not the case, and we need to re-examine those automatic kind of defense mechanisms.
I see. So what are the psychological and physiological effects of prejudice and racism on those victimized by it, other than the obvious, like police violence?
Mm-hmm. So it's a really, really important question, and the people that grow up in an environment that's very, basically, they're affected with the prejudice, yes? So they're vigilant. We can call it paranoia, but it's a healthy kind of paranoia because they actually are being prosecuted, yes? Right. There is stress, there is anxiety, there is depression, there's difficulty sleeping, there's difficulty in concentration, there is difficulty in kind of moving forward and feeling like, okay, I can succeed and be better or like strive for the stars. There's a big problem with cardiovascular problems, of course, because again, of the stress, cholesterol. So these are just to name a few, yes? This is a very, very serious problem.
All right, now I think the real heart of this conversation here is, how can we break our own prejudicial patterns? Because, you and I'm sure, are not immune to this.
Yes, so that's the whole point. The point is that none of us are immune to this because, again, our mind automatically tries to put everything into neat boxes. And so when we realize that, this is not as an excuse. This is as in to realize that none of us are literally immune, and each one of us carry the responsibility to re-examine ourselves, to re-examine our views, and if necessary, reach out and re-examine it with somebody else, because even unfortunately, those that are people of color and are facing this prejudice sometimes also hold these views, which is really sad. And so there's a bunch of research on this in medical community, also with children and choosing toys. Like, this is a really, really big problem, and it needs to be looked on from the small, meaning each one of us individually, to the big, meaning on a social and educational level.
All right. Kamila, thank you so much for joining me on this important topic. Thank you.